So let's go through this. There are 3 different types of human stem cells. All of them are interesting. All of them are important. And it's important to describe the properties of each.
Cancer, diabetes, stroke, blindness. All words associated with pain and fear. But just imagine a world free of disease and distress. Gone forever. Well, this can be accomplished through stem cells.
Stem cells are cells found in every multicellular organism that can divide and become different through mitosis and become new cells. These cells come from inner cell mass, bone marrow, and blood. Through extensive research, these stem cells might be able to cure many diseases in the human body.
Are stem cells extracted from the body and from the fetus?
The fetus, they will be isolated from a fertilized egg, which forms a little embryo, and a portion of the embryo is cut out, and the cells are then from the inner cell mass, and those cells are grown in culture. That's in the fetus. In the body, the stem cells are found in various different regions. It's known that stem cells found in various different regions of organs, and those cells would be isolated by dissection and then put in culture medium and grown out.
The more controversial stem cells are human embryonic stem cells, or HESC. These stem cells come from the human fetus, and in order to get these cells, the embryo must be destroyed. This is why religious groups are up in arms. The destruction of a fetus is against many religions, but when it comes to saving lives, it is necessary.
The different types of stem cells are multipotent, pluripotent, and totipotent. Multipotent stem cells can differentiate, but only with closely related cells. They are usually used and associated with adult stem cells, but with recent research by John Gurdon and Shinya Yamanaka, adult stem cells have also been found to be pluripotent.
Now, a new and third category of stem cells are the so-called induced pluripotent stem cells, or IPS cells, which is what I'll call them now. These were created as a direct result of the knowledge gained from studying human embryonic stem cells and understanding their biology.
The reason pluripotent stem cells are so useful is that they can differentiate into almost any type of cell. Adult pluripotent stem cells are also known as induced pluripotent stem cells, and with more research, they could become the most useful form of stem cell. Human embryonic stem cells are taken from the embryo at about 5 days after conception, and there are usually about 150 cells in each embryo. Religious groups say life begins at conception, but this could cure cancer, multiple sclerosis, spine injuries, Parkinson's, muscle damage, and maybe even more.
One of the very best windows we have now into human development is through these human embryonic stem cells. For example, scientists are using these cells to study diseases such as Fragile X syndrome, which is a developmental disability, rather common one, affecting primarily boys, Rett syndrome, a debilitating brain disorder affecting primarily girls, and Huntington's disease, a late-onset neurodegenerative disease.
We must also understand that some religious groups oppose human embryonic stem cells because their beliefs about life and death include fetuses. Due to this, we must be sincere, considerate, and handle this situation respectfully.
You understand that one of the main things that's pushing it back is religious groups and their opposal of it. Could you explain this more? And
I wouldn't say that it's pushing it back. I mean, there's certainly kind of opponents to the use of embryonic stem cells in there, and we understand that, and we respect their views on this. And this is not something that anyone does lightly. Science is never something that kind of everyone agrees on. Certainly the Vatican has taken a position that stem cell research is a great thing, but they don't approve of embryonic stem cells. So they approve of use of iPS cells and other cells. So it's not that they're blocking it, it's just that they have philosophical and religious differing views than we do.
How long was I in there? About 5 minutes. Why are we not funding this?
The reason that the stem cell issue is so important is the lack of funding for human embryonic stem cells. While the federal government largely funds stem cells, human embryonic stem cells are by far the least funded. In 2011 alone, the National Institute of Health received funding of $1.3 billion. 9.4% of that went towards the human embryonic stem cells, while almost half of the funding went towards non-human, non-embryonic stem cells.
Human embryonic stem cells need to be more heavily funded because at the moment they are the most useful form of stem cell. They are taken from embryos discarded at abortion centers that would have otherwise been destroyed. This is helpful because the embryos are being used for a good purpose.
Embryonic stem cells, we've had a little bit longer to work with them, but there are still so many things that we don't know about them. So it's important to work with both those kinds of cells, indeed all kinds of stem cells, so that we understand exactly what works for what. It may be that embryonic stem cells work better for some kinds of therapy, some kinds of disease.
Human embryonic cell research funding is projected by the NIH to be at $124 million, while the total funding for all of the NIH's research last year was at over $100 billion.
Our solution to this problem is to cut funding in certain areas and apply it to stem cells. For example, clinical research is listed as having $10.5 billion in funding. Also, certain diseases such as cancer and heart disease have over $1 billion each, which can go to stem cell research and possibly cure those too.
The solution isn't so simple though. We need participation from the entire population. Money from the private and public sectors are extremely crucial, and with that money, stem cells could revolutionize the entire world. Fundraisers, donations, anything to get money could change our whole lives and everyone else's forever.
Well, it's a really political question. How do you get people to pay more taxes for doing that thing? How do you get the money for it? I mean, the industry will do some of it if we can get a product out of it, and the government will do it if they see there's a public good. There certainly is a public good, but how do you get more money? You have to pull money away from other resources, and I think the public has to be aware. The public has to be educated of the value of it and have to recognize that the future is in this kind of work.
Stem cells are potentially the most important aspect of understanding humans. Holding the key to knowledge of the human race could be ascertained through these little cells.
To update modern medicine, eliminate major diseases, and improve the quality of life, stem cells must be given the utmost priority and attention. With participation, money, and the help of stem cells, the world can be changed forever.